Well, we are here. We're outside of East Palestine, Ohio, up in Niles for the time being, where we're joined again here by Candace DeSanzo. We've spoken with Candace originally on our first trip to East Palestine back in February, again on our second trip to East Palestine back in March. We're now here for the third time. We've been speaking with residents on the ground here all week, trying to hear directly from the folks affected by this, what is still happening. When I first walked in the door, I said I was hoping, for this trip 3 months later, I was expecting hopefully a little bit of positive news. Unfortunately, with every single person that I talked to, it's not looking very positive. I guess after all this time, it's been 3 months, how are you holding up at this point?
Well, I mean, like I said to you earlier, I said this has probably been your worst trip so far. I think just because we're to a point where we are so uncertain about our futures on a constant basis and having no transparency and not knowing what's going to happen next in life, it leaves you very fragile and you start to break down. I mean, I've been lucky to have an Airbnb, but I know many of my friends have been staying in hotel rooms. Like, I don't even know how they're managing doing that. This life is not sustainable. And, when you go to the assistance center, they just act like nothing's going on. Like it's no big deal. Like in 4 weeks when they're done digging up the tracks because it's not going to smell anymore, we can go home. And that's getting closer and closer, and it's becoming a realization of really, what are you going to do?
And at this point too, it kind of seems like, to your point, the date of the other side of the tracks being kind of complete. I mean, they're really just getting started on side 2, but it is only a couple weeks away from when they're going to remove all that soil, put the new tracks down. It seems to me, in hearing interviews from the governor and whatnot, even at the state level, they're also kind of like, yep, once that's done, East Palestine's fixed, back to normal.
Well, what they did is they went in there and beautified it. And like I told the guy at the assistance center, I don't give a shit how beautiful it is if you put beauty over toxic chemicals, it doesn't mean anything to me. All this money has been directed in replacing all this stuff. They're throwing all those chemicals around from the track still. It's like, is that just recontaminating that? Like, the processes here don't make sense. And I listened to Jamie's interview earlier, and she said, I never thought that something like this could go on in the United States of America. And either did I. And I guess I'm so flabbergasted by that. I keep saying I feel like I'm living in the Twilight Zone. And it's scary for me, and I'm scared for other citizens now too. I mean, you better hope that this doesn't happen in your hometown.
Right.
Because we have been crying out for help. We have an extension on the emergency order so that we can get, government services in here, FEMA, that he has till July 3rd to sign that.
Right. But the fact that it hasn't been signed yet, I mean, we're talking to Governor DeWine, to be able to sign a state of emergency, essentially. If that is signed, to my understanding, it will bring in the ability for more federal resources to come into the area.
At this point, we are so far away from that.
Right.
They're not even handing out water anymore.
Right.
I don't know if you noticed that when you came to town this time. It's like they want to go with this narrative that, okay, they're cleaning up everything, everything's fine, when it's obviously not fine.
Right.
I mean, for those, I understand that there's people that want to go on with their life, but there's other ones that don't want to take that chance. And I don't want to risk my kids' lives taking a chance that it's safe when I know that it's not safe.
Right. And to your point before about you can't believe this is happening in the United States. Before this, even me, and I'm sure you feel similarly, and others do, but correct me if you don't. I would have thought that in a disaster situation like this, the EPA would have a plan of what to do. Maybe it's not a perfect exact plan, because this was a pretty extenuating circumstance for this disaster to happen, but some sort of playbook to go by of, okay, here's how we do this in a clear and effective way. These are the tests that should be done. As we go through, we'll narrow the focus and make sure we're educating people. clearly that is not happening because, again, it's been 3 months. The test results from the EPA are a confusing mess. There's been little to no coordination between the array of contractors that they're using, to the point where experts are calling it out now. I mean, we had Dr. Welton in the last couple of weeks he works with Purdue University. He's been doing a lot of independent testing, writing that open letter to the EPA a couple weeks ago, calling out how how much mishandling has been going on the EPA's part. Instead of being truthful in the beginning and saying, hey, we don't have all the answers yet, so let's, out of an abundance of caution, say, we don't know, this isn't safe yet. Instead, very likely because of pressure from the railroad, the incentive was, say everything is safe, let's get these trains rolling through town again, but we need to get everyone back there before we can do so. And those were the decisions that ultimately were made, which is...
Yes, and you know what? It's been a shit show from day one. And people are suffering. Mm-hmm. People are getting sick. I mean, people are testing left and right for vinyl chloride, benzene, and other chemicals in their, urine and in their blood. Those are things that should not be there. Mm-hmm. And yet the railroad still wants to insist that it's safe and it's fine. And they expect me here in 4 weeks when they, as they put it, the gravy train leaves.
Did someone say that to you?
Yes, yeah. I've been having a hell of a time at the assistance center. That we're going to have to go back home because our houses are safe and they're fine. Mm-hmm. And when my kids are almost bleeding out of every orifice of their body in 4 weeks of me being at my home, you're not going to tell me that my house is fine. And now I have test results and I can't read them. I'm waiting on that right now. But I'm not an idiot also. I've taken chemistry, I have a college degree and I could make some sense of them. And to me, there's a lot of chemicals that are there that should not be there.
Right.
People are not there is no safe amount of a toxic chemical.
Right.
And it's not just one chemical. It's this synergistic effect. And it's like, no matter how much I want to go home, the reality of it is, I just don't think I ever will be able to.
And we do, Candace has shared with us some of these results. We're kind of going through them as well. We've got an expert that we've been working with as well, kind of looking through them. So once we are able to interpret that data a little bit better, we'll do a follow-up with Candace and be able to kind of provide that info as to what these independent testing results show, especially in comparison to the tests that you had initially had done by the contractors of the railroad and the contractor from the EPA that we talked about months ago at this point.
Well, we know that test was completely inadequate now.
Yes.
And, a lot of people stake the lives of their children and their family members on that test. And them starting out like that right there should have showed us from the jump what it was going to be like. And it's been a continuous of this. Now the town's divided and it's just... It's not a place that it used to be, and it's absolutely terrible what's gone on here. And it's so emotional. And I think that, I've seen a lot of interviews where people break down and they're crying, it's hard not to. I'm just like, I sit here and I'm like, where is everybody at? What in the actual is going on here? Why is nobody coming to help us? This is the United States of America. This is why I work. This is why I pay taxes. I've paid the bill. And now the services that these people are supposed to be rendering me, they're nowhere to be seen. I challenge one person, one senator, one politician to step up, do the right thing for these people. They want to do right by the businesses. That's all fine and dandy. But you have to do right by the people, the human beings that are living in this town. That to me is a toxic wasteland.
I don't think you can say it any better than that, honestly. And they won't help folks like you in East Palestine. I was speaking with residents earlier, and early on in this, it was oh, like these people got what they deserve. This is a Trump town.
Yeah.
He does all this deregulation and stuff. I don't care about the politics of it. Nobody should care about the politics of the before of it. And that argument is moot anyway, because Joe Biden's been president for 2.5 years. He's had 2.5 years to bring these regulations back. So that's number one. Number two, rail workers were trying to strike. One of their major things that they were striking over was improved safety conditions. Joe Biden almost single-handedly squashed the ability for that to happen. So that argument is out of the water, regardless of if it wasn't, if that was a valid argument. I don't care if you vote for Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Barney, some random person who wants to run for president. It doesn't matter. You're an American.
I'm a human being.
And a human being. Yeah,
I am a human being. That's the notion I've been going on. Like when I've been going to the assistance center, when I've been reaching out to people, listen, hey man, I'm a human being and you're a human being.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Treat me with the same dignity and respect that you would want. Just like when I go to the assistance center,
Right.
I know damn well the guy that's sitting on the other side of that desk wouldn't allow his children to stay in a home when he was waking his kids up that had blood pooling in their mouth, blood coming out of their nose, numerous other symptoms, rashes. That guy would not allow his kids to stay in that home, and it's this, PR that they're trying to push that it's safe and it's normal. You know what? If people want to think it's safe and it's normal, go on ahead. But you also have to address the other people that don't think it's safe or don't think it's normal, and they're not. And what the hell are we gonna do come 4 weeks?
Right. And it's not safe. It's not normal. Clearly, you don't have to be an expert to go in and see this. The first couple days here on this trip, I was feeling fairly fine in town. I wasn't smelling very much. It's been mostly cold and rainy. We were just there for the better part of the day today. We just spent some time in a resident's home and in her backyard, right along Taggart Street, right along where the derailment was. And as we were driving out of, we're getting ready to leave town, I said to Colin, I was like, I'm feeling it pretty good right now, actually. Like, I'm kind of glad we're leaving and heading out of town for a bit right now, because it was the first time I felt it this time. There is still something that's just not right. I didn't experience it to the degree that I had in the past, but there's definitely still something not right. I can tell you, and residents wouldn't be testing positive for vinyl chloride in their urine. To your point, we've spoken to a handful of them already. Tomorrow we're going to be speaking with the doctor in town, the chiropractor, who's actually been giving a lot of these folks
Dr. Chai.
Dr. Chai. We're going to be speaking with him tomorrow. He's been helping folks get prescriptions to actually get these tests done, because the regular doctors, for the most part, aren't doing it.
I think that it would actually be a staggering number if they would actually do the right thing and test all 4,500 residents of East Palestine. Because my thoughts are, what we're seeing is more and more and more people are getting these results back. I guarantee you 90% of us would test positive.
Yeah.
And that right there should be a big red flag waving back and forth that something is not right in East Palestine.
Right.
And it's like, how can you allow a town of innocent people to be poisoned? There are a lot of people that are just staying in that town that want to trust the EPA, that don't know any better, or, want to believe what our, government officials and our town officials are telling us. But I'm smarter than that, and I think that I was one of the, canaries in the mine because I got symptoms. I think maybe if I would have went home and not have gotten symptoms, I don't know how I would have reacted.
Right.
But I think that I would have been smart enough to heed other warnings.
Right, you look around and see,
people think, I urge people who have not been sick to go and get tested.
Right.
Just out of curiosity.
Right.
To see that even if this is affecting those that are not getting tested, because I think that it's scarier than what anybody thinks, and I think quicker than 5 years here in the next couple years, I think we're going to start to see cancer clusters.
And obviously, I hope not, but looking at what's happening here, vinyl chloride, a lot of these vinyl chloride byproducts, when they're set on fire, are carcinogens. So yes, health symptoms,
and people talk about this vinyl chloride, but it wasn't just vinyl chloride. It was multiple toxic chemicals.
You had other things there, and that's what we know about.
And all we know is how these things affect us Like how vinyl chloride affects us just by itself.
Right.
How butyl acrylate affects us just by itself.
Right.
We have no idea how all of these chemicals affect us when we're smelling them together, when we're being exposed to them all together. So how in the hell can anybody tell anybody that it's safe?
Right. No, it's outrageous. And what frustrates me even more is, to your point, you'd think in the U.S. This wouldn't happen, and if something happened, these agencies would come in and do the right thing to make sure you don't need to be going to fight tooth and nail at the assistance center and whatnot. They're happy to spend the money when it's a big bank that's about to collapse or something. The whole SVB bank with all the Silicon Valley companies and all their money's in there took less than 48 hours to go drop millions and millions, potentially billions of dollars there. We had another bank
trying to
issue the
send
other
billions
day.
over to Ukraine.
Exactly. And it's like, you can think that money should also go to some of those places. Like I'm not, I personally think we probably spend too much in a lot of those places, but if you're going to spend the money there, you better definitely be spending the money here first. This is in your own country.
Nothing.
Right.
This would be nothing too.
Exactly.
It's not like we are New York City, where it's a high population.
Right.
It is a population of 4,500, not including the surrounding areas that I know were also affected. But it's still not that huge population that it's like gonna, you know what I mean, break the government or
exactly.
And I just don't, and I can't wrap my head around why.
Right. I did the math a couple weeks ago. There's only, I'm going to miss some of the specifics, but there's roughly just over 2,000 homes in East Palestine, like actual households. The average household price, according to like a real estate website, just before the derailment, was roughly $125,000. So you've got some less, some more.
Yep.
If you were to do 125,000 times that specific number is roughly 2,100 homes. Buying every home in East Palestine would cost $270-ish million. $270 million, not billion, million. Now, I'm not saying that everyone in town wants to sell their home, because a lot of people want to stay. If you want to stay, stay. The point that I'm trying to make when I bring those numbers up is if people want to leave, let's buy their homes from them at the fair market value the month before the derailment.
There's 200 or 300 residents
that
say, hey, I don't feel safe living here. I have small children like me. I have a 1 and a 2 and a 10-year-old. I have babies that can't communicate. Mom, my throat hurts. Mom, this is going on. For me to bring them home, it would be completely irresponsible of me. And these people want me to just believe that I can go home and it's going to be fine and dandy. No. I want you to buy my home so that I know that I can go somewhere where it is safe, even though my entire life is still going to be ripped from me, and it makes me terribly sad because East Palestine is my life. I just know that I would rather start my life over and know I could go to bed every night without having to tuck my boys in saying, I'm wondering if I'm poisoned and wonder if they're going to be able to have children, wonder if their children are going to have birth defects, wonder if they're going to get this. No one can live like that. You just can't. Just like even Chrissy Hill says, she can never go home. And I know that house, they've lived in that for years.
Yeah.
Just like my home, I grew up in that house. I lived there since I was 8 years old. And, it's not just a house to me, but it's become just a house when Norfolk Southern came into my life and did what they did. And then they want to treat me like I'm the criminal.
Right.
Because I'm questioning what's going on, because I want clear answers, because I want transparency, and because most of all I want is a healthy place for my children. Right. Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. God forbid.
No, it's ridiculous. I'm curious. So you mentioned you've had some issues at the assistance center. Even the last time we spoke, you're not the only one having issues at the assistance center. A lot of people are. It seems like at this point, there's still no clear rules as to how it works there. One person might get one thing, one person might not get it. If you talk to so-and-so, you'll get helped. If you talk to somebody else, you won't. If you go in and cry one day, you might get it. If you don't, you might not. What's been going on lately as far as your situation?
Well, those people, as my dad would say, don't know their assholes from a hole in the ground. And I only say that because from one day to the next, they're doing this, they're doing that. Last month I went. It was a very traumatizing experience for me. The guy had me highlighting receipts, and I looked at him and I told him that it was the most messed up thing and dehumanizing thing that I've ever been asked to do in my life, to highlight between a $5 box of cereal and a $2 pack of rubber bands for my hair. Are you kidding me, dude?
Right.
And he grabbed the receipts, like, angrily, and, like, started crumpling them up, grabbed my hand, grabbed the highlight. He's like, no, I'm not going to make, no, you don't touch me.
Right.
So it was a very traumatizing experience. They were wanting to give me $798 refund for $3,600 worth of receipts that I had. You know, I have a family of 5, and I mean, I don't know what family of 5 they think can live off of eat off of $758 for 30 days.
Yeah.
They end up giving it to me, but it's a battle.
Right.
And I think a lot of people would give in and cave. I'm just relentless in my efforts, and I'm not going to cave, because I'm going to make sure that my children are healthy, comfortable, and Norfolk Southern should be taking care of it without me having to go there and do the runaround that I'm doing.
Right.
So I went back this time. The guy guaranteed me last time I wouldn't have problems. Once again, I'm having problems. And I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to deal with this shit. You know, I just can't. I'm just so broken down at this point. And it's like, why are you guys making it so hard? I get there and they say, oh, we're not printing papers anymore. Are you kidding me? Put that on your website. You guys, you know, you guys are a multi-billion-dollar corporation. You could have a person that's like your PR person type, hey, bring your printed out receipts when you come, because we're not printing them anymore.
Yeah, you're not the first person.
You don't have to leave and then come back. So that's what I did.
Right.
And once again, they did not want to reimburse me for all my receipts. Wanted to question every receipt. And I told them that I didn't want to do it. The guy told me last time they were going to give me a certain amount of money.
Right.
And if I didn't go over that, that's what they do again. And I'm like, you guys are just trying to give me a hard time. You're giving it to me in the end, but you're putting me through all this trauma.
Right.
I hate going there. I don't even want to go there. And what is the purpose of victimizing a person that you've already victimized?
Right.
It doesn't make sense, just like nothing else makes sense to me that's going on here.
No, it none of it makes sense at
No.
all. And to your point too, I mean, you're still, again, 3 months later, needing to go to the people who caused all these issues in the first place to ask for this temporary relocation money or money to help with other costs associated with all of this. It's outrageous that there's no middleman in between. The government's not making sure that you're being made whole here. None of that is happening. You're still needing to go to the people who caused all of these issues in the first place.
And it's not like they're being gracious or hospitable. No, they are treating you like shit because they feel that this is a voluntary relocation, and that if we all wanted to, we could be in our homes, and to them, we're just a nuisance and a pain in the ass at this time. They told me these exact words: we are only relocating people because it was gonna smell. I laughed there and I said, are you kidding me? Are you really trying to tell me that you were only gonna relocate people because of the smell of the butyl acrylate? Come on, man, come on.
And again, they've always blamed the smell on butyl acrylate. Butyl acrylate is one of the chemicals involved in the derailment here, and it does have a low odor threshold, meaning you can smell it, and it's not necessarily a high level of concern, but the devices that they're using to test can't pick up butyl acrylate until it is 5 times higher than the action level, meaning the level where you shouldn't be around it for extended periods of time. So they blame it on butyl acrylate, yet they can't necessarily say that it's butyl acrylate.
Because they have no idea. It'd be like me walking around with my cell phone going, yep, my cell phone's reading the data here. Yep, we're good. Yep, it's safe.
Right.
That's basically what they're doing.
And the other issue with all of it too is other chemicals involved, or in chemical byproducts of the vinyl chloride. Phosgene, for example, with most of the devices that they're using, you're never going to pick up phosgene. And that's not me saying this. That is folks with PhDs in chemistry, degrees in toxicology, telling this to me so that I can explain this better. Other ones, formaldehyde. Formaldehyde, with the devices that they're using, you can only test for formaldehyde if it has a special attachment on the device. If that attachment is on the device, you can only test for formaldehyde and not many of these other chemicals. Hydrogen chloride, again, you're going to have a hard time testing for hydrogen chloride with a lot of these devices, yet they're still, the plans haven't changed for the most part. They're still doing the same thing. they're still providing difficult to understand data. The EPA has lost its credibility with most of the folks in town and anyone who's paying attention to this at all. And unfortunately, my colleague Jordan just finished up a trip just before this. He was in Flint, Michigan, and in speaking with Jordan and even Colin here, who was with him, it's like they're taking a page out of the Flint playbook. It's get into this place, provide only the bare minimum of information, try to sort the town into categories and divide people, like you said earlier on. You've got the railroad giving some folks money, making some folks beg for money to have not just to have the money, but to be able to relocate your family to a safe place. So the rules are constantly changing. They're pitting people against each other. You've now got this like Norfolk Southern community liaison in town that we've been hearing more about, who is picking out certain businesses to try to like help get those businesses money, but regular folks are not getting the money. Some other businesses too, if you're not in the right clique of people, is what it's sounding like. Some of the businesses are being left in the dust and not getting some of that.
No,
that
and
help.
that angers me.
Mm-hmm.
I am a resident of that town.
Mm-hmm.
Those businesses are what they are today is a part of me shopping locally. I make sure I get my groceries in that town. When I go and get, toiletries and things like that, I bring my kids to the local, barber, and I have helped their businesses, and I understand that they need taken care of. But Jamie hit the nail on the head when she said, yes, I understand that their lives have been devastated, but so have ours. What about us? And it's not this huge, great population. It's not like everybody's demanding for their houses to be bought. Why can't they accommodate everybody's needs? Why does it have to be so hard and so difficult for those 500 to 1,000 residents that are saying, hey, we don't want to live here no more.
Right.
You want to live here, you can live here. It saddens my heart. East Palestine will always be a place that I referred to as home, but it's not probable for me to live there for years on end when I have these small children that I could possibly give cancer to.
Right.
I mean, is that asking so much? Hey,
Right.
Hey, will you buy my house so my kids don't grow up and get cancer because you derailed a train in my backyard? That should be a no-brainer.
Right.
Yeah, here you go. Bye.
Yeah.
With all the money that they've handed out to this point and all the money that they've wasted, they could have accommodated everybody's needs. They did this scholarship fund. That should be for later on down the road.
Right.
You know what I'm
Worry
saying?
about the needs now first.
Yes.
Right. But there's been a lack of actual real community engagement in some of this. Like that would be clear if, frankly, Norfolk Southern and the EPA actually came into East Palestine and sat at folks' tables like we're doing right now and did it.
EPA and all the town representatives latched onto Norfolk Southern's coattails, and they allowed them to lead this show. And they have went with the motto that it's fine, we're gonna make it right, we're gonna make it right. And this guy at the assistance center actually had the nerve to tell me, I think it's gonna be more beautiful here than it ever was before. Oh yeah, more beautiful with a toxic wasteland on the underneath of it. And it's just like, why are you trying to convince me when you're never gonna convince me that it's safe? Just like the people that are convincing you can pry their cold dead hands from East Palestine are going to stay and live there no matter what.
Right.
Why can't my side be accepted too?
Right.
Why do I have to be dismissed? Why do I have to be a lunatic? Why do I have to be a liar? No, I'm none of those things.
Right.
I'm experiencing this differently than you are. And if your needs are being accommodated and if the businesses and the town's getting beautified, hey man, all I want is this little chunk of money that's nothing to Norfolk Southern, so that I can pay my house off and get a house somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, it's simple, and unfortunately, it's looking like a lot of the money that's been given in assistance is taxable, which is a ridiculous element of all of this. That we were kind of talked about this a couple weeks ago. I was texting lots of residents, including you, confirming, hey, did you have to sign a W-9 form when you first went in? And I heard from you, Jamie. I heard from about a dozen people who all confirmed, yes, we had to sign a W-9 form. I reached out to Norfolk Southern for comment on this. They confirmed, and they said that anyone who received over $600 in any sort of reimbursals or assistance was going to get a 1099 form at the end of the year. As somebody who's an independent contractor, I'm an independent contractor for several folks, and that's how I get paid. Is I fill out a W-9 form when I start my employment with somebody, and I get a 1099 tax form at the end of the year, and I pay taxes on that money. Last night when I was talking with Jamie, and at the time there was concern that might actually affect Medicaid benefits and all sorts of other things.
Oh yeah.
At this point, it looks like that's not the case, thankfully. But that doesn't mean you're not going to get taxed on it at the end of the year. And according to Jamie, Senator Sherrod Brown confirmed that, saying unless there is some sort of change in law that residents in East Palestine will be paying taxes on money received primarily for reimbursements. This isn't like you're stacking money in your bank account. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, and it's absolutely just disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of the multitude of ways that we've been failed at every corner here.
Mm-hmm. It's gross. Right? Frankly, it's gross. It makes me sick to come back here again 3 months later, still no answers to most of these questions, still residents being gaslit into, everything's safe, everything's fine.
Still can't get medical care. I mean, that's slowly starting where we're being able to get tested.
Right.
But we should have been able to get tested from the jump of this.
Yeah.
I was taking my kids since, we've left Palestine. The boys haven't been back. I actually have gone back a couple times, and every time I go back, I get symptoms, and that makes it even more worrisome for me because, sometimes I do start thinking crazy and think, I'm going to go home. It's going to be okay.
Right.
We're going to go home. We can make this work. You still play that through your mind.
Because you want,
yes.
like anybody, you'd rather be at your house.
Yeah, like these people, when you go to the assistance center, they want to treat you like you're out having a good time. Dude, it's not fun. Even with an Airbnb to stay in a house because I'm a nervous wreck that my kids are breaking stuff. I'm worried about the dogs peeing or doing something, and it's crazy expensive. So that stresses me out,
Right. If Norfolk Southern decides not to pay the next time
and
or
that's
something.
what the scary thing is, I'm putting my money out and getting reimbursed from them, and they're getting more ignorant when is the time going to come that I'm going to go there and they're going to say we ain't paying you. Up to this point they have, because I've thrown a hissy fit each and every time.
But the unfortunate reality is it seems like you have to do that. You have to do that if you're going to get the help, which is outrageous. Right.
What is the purpose? What is the purpose in doing that? Just like, what is the reason that we are being forgotten? What is the reason that we have to go with this narrative that everything's okay? What is really going on?
Right.
And that makes me even go down even deeper rabbit holes, like what really went on here? Will we ever really know the entire truth of what went on? It's just like sometimes I feel like I'm living in this crazy dystopian whacked out movie.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm thinking I'm gonna wake up any day, and I'm not. And every day it's something different, and every day it's something even more mind blowing, and it's just it's defeating.
No, I can't imagine myself in the situation. I would ask folks though. I was talking with Colin about this in the car. I would ask folks, try to put yourself in the shoes of somebody like Candace, in the shoes of somebody like Chrissy, in the shoes of somebody like Eric, or any of these people that we've been talking to. Imagine this happens in your small town. It might not be a train derailment. It might be something else. It could be a train though. These tracks run all over the place. Imagine that happens. The folks in government who you are hoping to be able to rely on in these situations, the experts in these agencies, come in, they brush everything off, they don't answer your questions. You're then told that you need to go to the company that messed up and ruined your town in whatever way it happens, and you need to ask them for the money to help relocate you for a period of time. Or if some of your things were destroyed, you need to ask them for the help. And then time goes by and you're wondering, okay, is somebody going to come help me? Is somebody going to come help me? And then you're trying to elevate your voice and trying to help your neighbors and friends. And as time goes on, less people start paying attention. The hope for help seems to dwindle away. I would just ask people to try to put yourself in that situation. It's outrageous. This has been a really frustrating trip. I can't imagine how frustrating it is for you and all of the other folks that I'm talking with. I'd ask folks to try to put yourself in that situation, think about it, and maybe that will help get some pressure on some of these politicians to actually do something to prevent something like this from happening in the future. Because after seeing what this has done to all of you here, it's hard to describe how it makes me feel. I can't imagine how it makes all of you all feel about it.
Well, history has repeated itself over and over again. And, it sets a precedence for the EPA. And when they come in, it shows by their actions that they, throughout history, have been able to get away with doing exactly the bullshit that they've done here. Mm-hmm. And that's all they have to give to the citizens of the United States, because that's all they're mandated to give. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm so passionate, and I've joined the Unity Council with Jamie and a lot of other residents to fight against this. I want to stand up and say, hey, this isn't going to happen in the United States of America. We're not going to allow you to push us around, bully us, and make us sit down and shut up and make us take what you're trying to feed us. Mm-hmm. I'm going to fight, and I'm going to make you make it right in the way that I deem it right. And that's what it should be. It should be made right in whatever that resident feels they need for themselves to be whole again. And as long as we as citizens allow the government agencies, government politicians to get away with not helping the people, they will definitely do it. Mm-hmm. And that should not be the way that it is. We should be taken care of. At some point along the way, the government should have stepped in and helped us.
Right. I agree. Candace, thank you so much again for taking the time. Unless there's anything else you want to share, feel free.
I'm just, calling out to anybody, any politician, any, political figure, any famous, figure, anybody that would step up and do right by the folks of East Palestine, Ohio. And that's coming and listening to what the people need and what the people are truly saying. I'm putting a call out. There's got to be one stand-up person out there that can break this cycle and help us.
Awesome. Well, I hope somebody listens to that and takes them up. If you need to get in touch with Candace, we're easy to get in touch with at Status Coup. We're happy to make the connection to try to make that happen. Candace, thank you so much again for taking the time.
Thank you, Louis. You're awesome as always.
Thanks.